Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hello, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll, and this right here, this is the healthiest half hour anywhere online today, and we appreciate you joining us right here on YouTube and on Facebook. So today is all about looking your best and feeling your best and figuring out which foods really affect your skin. How is your lifestyle affecting the way that you age? Is it possible to eat your way into a healthier look? Well, we are going to find out when we talk all things dermatology with renowned dermatologist, Dr. Jessica Krant. She is here with us on the show to answer your questions when we open up the doctor's mailbag. So if there's something on your mind that you would like to ask Dr. Krant, go ahead and post that right now in the comments or in the chat. You can also tweet it to us using the hashtag ExamRoomLive. Go ahead, though, send that on over to @PCRM or @ChuckCarroll, WLC, and we will do our best to get to as many of these questions as we possibly can with the time that we have on the show today. Now, before I bring on Dr. Krant, let me tell you a little bit about her. She has been voted one of New York City's super doctors. She has also been named a New York Magazine top doctor and is a Best of Manhattan award winner. So clearly, Dr. Krant knows exactly how to help you out here today. So let's go ahead and bring Dr. Krant onto the show. Thank you so very much for being here. It is truly an honor to have you on the show.
No, Chuck, it's an honor to be here. You know, I'm a huge fan of you and the Exam Room podcast, so this is a special day for me.
Oh, well, you know, it's so cool really to have you here. We get so many questions about skincare here on the show, and I'm really happy that for the first time we're able to do a full live episode about this, a full Q&A. So let's go ahead right now and open up that doctor's mailbag and see what the roomies have in store for us today. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So here is the first question. Comes to us from a viewer on Facebook. They write, I'm 40-ish and starting to see some wrinkles. I'm hoping that a healthier diet can smooth them out, though. How much of the aging process is tied to diet and how much is tied to genetics? Good question.
Wow. That question is sort of the headline of everything I like to talk about. So diet is a huge major factor in skin health and in anti-aging. And genetics always plays a part in our health, but I would like to immediately highlight the role of epigenetics. And I'm not sure, Chuck, if your audience knows anything about epigenetics, but epigenetics is the study of the ways in which our environment and our lifestyle choices switch on and off the genes that are in our DNA and can completely control how we age and what our health is like. So we may be born with a tendency for certain things to develop, but it's really largely our epigenetic profile, which controls whether those genes become activated later in life. So we can actually almost completely, I don't want to say 100%, but the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we exercise, our lifestyle, if it's active or sedentary, how much pollution we are surrounded by, our stress levels, our social life, and, connection with loved ones, all of these things have been shown to control our epigenetics, which control our DNA behavior. So food and healthy nutrition is one of the most important factors in controlling our epigenetics, and therefore absolutely is a major, major factor in how we actually age in real life versus how our DNA might say we could potentially age.
I love that answer. It reminds me of my grandfather who had these bags under his. I mean, God love the man. He was such a great man. But these bags under his eyes were just. I mean, you could really pack them and carry it on an airplane. That's how big these bags were. But then, some of my uncles and my aunts, they did not have these same sort of bags. And I always wondered, like, what is it that granddaddy is doing to make these bags happen? Is he just not sleeping enough? Like, is sleep the top contributing factor, or would you say one of the top factors when it comes to making sure that your health and your complexion remains really good?
Well, they actually have done some studies now and the headline of one of the articles is that beauty sleep is real. So it turns out that sleep does control not only our immediate appearance on an everyday basis, how we look the next day is absolutely controlled by our sleep. Even our skin quality can be fresher and more glowing versus duller based on our sleep quality. But also, many nights and weeks and months and years of good quality sleep in a row helps our body restore and recover from damage during the day. We clear out our toxins at night while we sleep, and not only from our brains, which I'm sure a lot of your audience is already aware of, but also from our skin. And when we accumulate toxins in our skin, it's much more damaging and much more aging. So good nights of sleep are a major, major factor in our aging of our skin, in our appearance, but of course, in every aspect of our health.
Let's get into some specifics here. Sarah is wondering, what foods would you recommend to fight the aging process? What are your top foods for staying young?
Well, that's kind of a slam dunk with you, Chuck, because I really am free to say that a wide variety in eating the total rainbow of a plant-based diet, including whole grains, including fruits and vegetables, including nuts and seeds, is really the key to the most anti-inflammatory diet and the most anti-aging. When we eat meat, when we eat red meat, even poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy, they each have chemicals and hormones and inflammatory factors that directly contribute to aging. So it's kind of easy for me to say, I wouldn't even say there's one or two special foods that are, anti-wrinkle. It's not even worth saying that. It's really a lifelong, or as plant forward, as much as you can be plant forward and reduce meats, reduce animal products, reduce dairy, and reduce eggs is the most anti-aging diet possible.
Tim is wondering, kind of piggybacking on that, is it more of a case of what you don't eat versus what you do eat, or is it kind of a 50-50 balance?
Well, the way I like to help people change their diet to become healthier is never to say, don't eat this or don't eat that. As little as possible. I like to say don't. As much as possible, I like to say add in, fill yourself up first with the vegetables, the fruits, the nuts and seeds, and all of the low calorie density, high nutrient density, antioxidants and phytonutrient plant foods. And then you will have less room for the bad stuff. So I don't know if that's 50-50, but I say your stomach can only hold so much. So if you fill it with the good stuff, you just can't fit in the bad stuff.
Ooh, that is a good answer. That is a really good answer. I like that one. That is the first time it's ever been put in those words in the 4 years that we've been doing this show. Fantastic.
Wow. I can't even believe it.
That's just, and it's so logical and it makes so much sense too. Couple of people are wondering about this one. Peter and Sasha are wondering about refined sugar versus natural sugar and how the two affect the skin. Is refined sugar potentially more damaging to the skin than the natural sugars found in whole foods?
Refined sugar is horrific for the skin, not only in terms of the health of all of our organs, of course, and our skin as an organ, but also refined sugar directly causes aging and wrinkles. So I just love what I get to talk about in dermatology, because I can lure people in by the appeal of anti-aging, which is what everybody's, they think they're looking for anti-aging. But it turns out that all of the things that keep our brains, our bones, and our GI tracts healthy are the same things that keep our skin healthy, which are the same things that keep our skin looking young. So it's easy for me. The sugar question, I think we know, refined sugar, added sugar is a big no-no. Natural sugars, if they are inside the whole food, like a piece of fruit, is, I think, in my opinion, completely healthy and not to necessarily be restricted at all. you have the fiber, you have the water, you have all of the phytonutrients and antioxidants that come with that piece of fruit. And, for me, that is a sugar that's allowed. Any kind of sugar extract or more natural sugar additive is, anything called like beet sugar, even date sugar. To me, those are still sugar. And I like to say reduce as much needing to sweeten things as possible.
Have a lot of people wondering right now about eczema. I'm assuming fairly common condition. This particular question comes to us from Sheena on YouTube, wondering what are the foods that are good for those who do have eczema?
Eczema is tricky and complicated and ranges from, and it really covers many conditions and disease entities, ranging from true atopic dermatitis, which is a sensitivity of the immune system comes with rashes and sensitive skin prone to allergies, seasonal allergies, and asthma. That is true atopic dermatitis, which can have a genetic component. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, which we may call dyshydrotic eczema or xerotic eczema, which is basically eczema that we cause to ourselves from over drying and over irritating our skin, even if we have no genetic tendency. So foods to eat to help eczema include anything anti-inflammatory, which already I think is a whole food, plant-based diet with lots of hydration. We want food to contain the water. We want the fruits and vegetables that contain the water as much as possible in our diet. And really the other end of eczema is avoiding foods or skin products that you have a true allergy to, and anything that causes an irritant contact dermatitis, which means a rash that anybody would get if they have too much exposure to that chemical. Allergic contact dermatitis is a true allergy. Some people are allergic and some aren't. Irritant contacts are caused by chemicals that anybody would react to if there's enough exposure, as I just said. So there's very little, it's very difficult to prove that certain foods cause rashes unless it's a slam dunk, it always happens to you and it's been tested. There is a very common assumption that you can control eczema by avoiding certain foods. And that's only true for very few people. Mainly the issue with most eczema is that people are not doing healthy basic skincare. They're over cleaning. They're actually over scrubbing, over exfoliating, using cleansers and soaps that are too harsh, and staying in the shower too long. Showers that are too long and too hot strip the natural oils and melt the natural oils right out of our skin. So skincare from the outside in is just as important with eczema as eating an anti-inflammatory, hydrating, juicy diet.
Same question comes to us from Kimberly, but this time about psoriasis. What is the connection between diet and psoriasis?
Psoriasis is another flaky, sometimes itchy and scaly skin condition that is a little bit different from eczema in the fact that it's really an autoimmune condition, and it can be as minimal as a few spots on you, and it can be as extreme as covering your whole body. And when people have really systemic psoriasis, it's an inflammatory condition of the whole body, and unfortunately, it also means that people may be at a higher risk for heart disease. So it's something we really need to take seriously, and a lot of people are suffering with these days. It has a big genetic component, so it can run in families. But we have really learned over the years recently that there are some lifestyle and dietary factors that may be able to help psoriasis. One of the lifestyle factors that is proven to link to psoriasis is actually smoking. So it's a lot of people who are just miserable and suffering with psoriasis, they turn to anything to make them feel a little bit better. So there tend to be a lot of people who have psoriasis who are smokers. And I just want to say to anybody suffering that it's really, really worth quitting smoking, because smoking directly flares and triggers psoriasis. Another factor that has been proven to be directly linked to flaring and stubbornness and recalcitrance of psoriasis is actually being overweight and carrying some extra weight. That creates an inflammatory cycle in your body that triggers psoriasis and keeps it going. And of course, psoriasis they used to call it the heartbreak of psoriasis, and I think in the 70s, maybe in the 60s, they called it the heartbreak of psoriasis because it's such a miserable and unhappy skin condition. And people turn to comfort, like I said, maybe smoking, maybe eating comfort foods. So it's a really hard cycle to break. But if you're able to reduce sugar, and studies show reduce baker's yeast and brewer's yeast, that means bread and beer, and eat a whole food plant-based diet, it really can, for some people, basically clear up the psoriasis, which everybody thinks is only treatable by expensive medications. In some cases, altering lifestyle may be enough.
This is a funny question from Sandra. You were talking about hydration a little bit earlier, specifically making sure that you're eating foods that come with a lot of water naturally. But she is wondering, is it true that drinking a gallon a day of water can keep the wrinkles away?
I love this question. I'm so glad to answer it because I learned at the International Conference on Nutrition in Medicine with Dr. Barnard that he had a kidney expert doctor speaking a couple of years ago who said something that absolutely blew my mind. And I never forgot it. And I love to tell everybody. And it was that the idea that we have to drink some multiple of our weight in water every day to keep our kidneys healthy and maintain proper hydration actually is a myth that was created by only partially understanding a research study that came out that said that we do need a certain amount of water to take in every day, but that a lot of that water can just come from our food. It can come from the fruits and vegetables that are high in water content that we should be eating mostly every day. And the remaining amount of water that we should drink, for the most part, I hate to say this because people are going to get a little upset, can basically go based on what our thirst is telling us. If we go for plain water when we feel thirsty and we're eating a plant-based diet of whole foods, which means whole fruits and vegetables, that it's not too much of processed, dried out food, we eat our water and the rest of the water we drink, it's probably enough. So as long as we stay hydrated and comfortable, as long as when we go to the bathroom and we urinate, our urine is a light yellow color, then we're hydrated enough. And that should be enough to do whatever it's going to do for our skin. Now, if our urine is very little amount or very dark in color, that means we're not hydrated enough. And really, that's the best way to judge, honestly, from a true medical point of view.
Okay, so we're not talking about water here. Naomi isn't, but she's wondering about coffee and whether or not that is good or detrimental for the skin.
Well, I heard that some people are really against coffee and caffeine, but coffee, I am happy to say, also contains antioxidants. So I think in moderation, as long as it doesn't make your heart race and you're not just drinking coffee all day, if you have 1 or 2 cups that are reasonable size, I'm fine with coffee. I think that it has both health benefits and potentially some health risks in extreme overuse, but I don't worry about it.
I'm a tea guy myself. I do enjoy a good cup or 2 of green tea every day. We got a question here from Richard. He's a funny guy. He wants to know, is it true and is it your observation that vegans really have a healthy glow?
It is absolutely my observation that vegans who are whole food plant-based and who are taking supplements as needed, including vitamin B12 and potentially vitamin D, who are hydrated and who are also sleeping enough and taking care of themselves in all of the ways, tend to have fewer skin problems and a fresher glow. I do think it's true. There are many, many ways to be an unhealthy vegan. So I will not say that all vegans have better skin or are healthier. But if we follow the whole food, plant-based diet, minimizing oils and oil extracts, and I say minimizing added salt, then I think you have the best shot for the most glow.
Minimizing salt, is that because it sucks out the hydration, or what effect does salt play here?
Well, I recently learned that the real effect of salt is that too much salt, it actually disrupts the balance of the gut microbiome. You know, which we know is really what's controlling our health from the inside out. And that's why we care about the diet. So they used to say, oh, don't eat too much salt because it raises your blood pressure. But it turns out that probably just added table salt, you know, is not really a factor with blood pressure. High sodium content in packaged foods is a problem. And, you know, going to a restaurant where they just load everything with mystery amounts of salt is not a good idea. But I say minimize salt. I actually, when I cut out salt completely, I didn't miss it at all because I was able to taste everything else better and have much more fun with the other spices. I happen to be a huge lover of garlic and onion, so that was pretty easy for me.
Oh, wow. Okay. No salt, but plenty of garlic and onion. I got that. All right, Mona, here's a good question. You talked a little bit about supplements earlier. She's wondering, what about biotin supplements? There's a lot of hype about them when it comes to hair and skin. What is your opinion on them?
Biotin now, after many years of people recommending it, has not actually been proven to necessarily help hair or nails if somebody is not truly deficient in biotin. So taking it to boost the levels may have no effect. It does, however, confuse the thyroid and potentially, if I recall correctly, troponin testing, which is what happens when you go to the emergency room and they're trying to find out if you had a heart attack. So I do recommend that people maybe don't add in a big dose of biotin as a supplement unless you've proven with your doctor that you are actually biotin deficient.
I want to say really quickly a hi to Margaret, who is watching us over in Scotland. She says she's new to being plant-based. She's cut out all dairy. She's SOS, so that is fantastic. She says that she's feel great. So Margaret, thanks so much for tuning in today. Appreciate you being here. Along those lines, somebody who is not quite yet vegan, but trying to get there is Tina. She writes, she wants to be vegan in the worst way, but she loves cheese so much. So her question is dairy truly harmful, or is there any health benefits to it in terms of the skin?
Oh, I feel for you. I also am a constantly recovering cheeseaholic. I do not eat cheese at all, and I miss it sometimes, you know, but as Dr. Barnard showed us in his book, The Cheese Trap, which was really, you know, a shocking eye opener. There's nothing that we need in cheese for our health, and so many things in cheese that are not good for us, including the fact that the casein in cheese turns into casomorphins, which our brain reads as like a morphine analog. So no wonder we're addicted to cheese, because cheese literally acts like morphine in our brains. It's comforting. It's really like the quintessential comfort food. And it's addictive. It's truly addictive. But the other factors in cheese are inflammatory for us. They're hormonally active, which really messes with our skin and our health overall. And removing cheese from the diet completely, along with other dairy, can completely heal and resolve many chronic diseases, including even endometriosis. Can help reduce the recurrence of breast cancer, and so many other proven benefits of cutting cheese out altogether that I can't say there are any health benefits. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right. That's going to be heartbreaking for a lot of people. Okay, from cheese to another one, chocolate. Mary is wondering. She says that she's a chocoholic, and she read that eating chocolate can actually cause acne. Is that true?
It was a myth for a long time, but it has recently been proven that eating chocolate does flare acne for some people. And we know that the lower the cacao percentage, the more milk chocolate, the more toward milk chocolate on the spectrum, the more this is true. The more dairy in the chocolate and the more sugar in the chocolate, the worse it is for skin. So I have gradually over the years, from my childhood with Hershey Kisses to my now wise adulthood, have gradually climbed up that percentage ladder. And now I eat 95% dark chocolate, which I keep in my freezer. And for me, one square is enough for a few weeks. It's just so rich. And, I just do it as my rare treat. And I otherwise I don't eat milk chocolate at all.
Ooh, one square every few weeks. We're just going to go ahead and call that hashtag goals. That is fantastic. Here's a really interesting question that comes to us from Mary Jo. And this one speaks to me personally. She writes, I have lost a lot of weight. Fantastic. But my skin is kind of wrinkly and loose. What can I do to help that skin bounce back?
This is such a tough one because when people are doing well and taking care of themselves and following all these healthy lifestyle changes that are really a huge win, and losing some weight and maybe getting other health benefits, the skin does not always shrink all the way back where we want it to go. And I've recently been thinking a lot about this, of course, as a dermatologist. And although I know that older people, full-grown adults, are more likely to sometimes be motivated to make these changes, I'm going to start trying to talk to my patients a little bit younger, because when the skin is younger, it has more elasticity and it's a little more robust with collagen, and it's a little bit better at snapping back. When we get a little bit older, or if we've been overweight for a longer period of time, sometimes the skin has stretched out and may not go all the way back. We can do things like skin thickening lotions that may contain ammonium lactate and other factors like that. And of course, eating a whole food plant-based diet really helps repair the skin as much as possible, and staying hydrated. But sometimes it does require a decision about whether you may want to do some surgery to remove some of the extra skin. Everybody's different and everybody's situation is different. So I would never blanket recommend that, but for some people it's the right thing and they just feel a lot better.
Yeah, and from personal experience, having lost 280 pounds, I can tell you that there does come a lot of extra skin with that. And the way that I look at that is, I could choose to dwell on it, I could fret over it, or I could just be like, you know what? I'm so much healthier today than I was when I was so overweight. And if that means that I have a little bit more extra skin now, then so be it. I'd rather be, healthy with extra skin than overweight with tight skin. So, Mary Jo, hang in there, and I promise you're going to be okay. I think that you made the right choice nonetheless. Question from Edith. We haven't talked about stress yet, Dr. Krant. As you know, this is a super stressful time. And so Edith is wondering about the effect that stress can have on skin health.
Well, Edith, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, because we all have stress all the time, but this year has just been absolutely bonkers with stress. Stress directly affects skin health. It flares acne, it flares psoriasis, it flares eczema, it flares anything itchy. It just creates a mess. And to be honest, long-term stress, chronic stress, also is aging for our skin. So, we see people from cultures that are just very high stress cultures. Their people do seem to age a little bit more than people in lower stress cultures. And what's happening is when we have stress, our body's cortisol level, which is the stress managing hormone that's supposed to give us energy in an acutely, immediately stressful situation, cortisol rises to just help us power through and have that super energy. Usually after an acutely stressful time, we'll crash and we'll feel extra exhausted. That would be normal. But when we're in chronic stress and the stress really never goes away, the cortisol just keeps getting pumped out, and cortisol triggers a cascade of all of these other hormonal things that happen in our bodies that create stress and aging on our organs and on our skin. So stress is a major factor. Stress contributes to hair loss and so many other issues. So I always include stress management, and I actually talk about stress with my dermatology patients in the office because it should not be ignored.
Let's grab a couple of more before we close up the doctor's mailbag. We have a number of people today who have been asking about dandruff and diet and what the connection there could possibly be.
Flaky, itchy scalp can be caused by many things. But if it is true dandruff, it's a condition called seborrheic dermatitis. And that is a condition of an overgrowth of a common skin yeast that lives on everybody's scalp and everybody's skin. When it overgrows, it creates inflammation and irritation, which creates redness and itchiness and increased cell turnover, which creates the flakes. So there are a few approaches. One is to kill the yeast itself. And that is what happens when we use these over-the-counter dandruff shampoos that contain zinc pyrithione, sodium sulfacetamide, and some ketoconazole. But you notice I said zinc. One of the dietary factors or even topical skin factors that may help would be increasing zinc in the diet. And zinc is found in nuts and seeds, and a lot of our fruits and vegetables that we would normally eat are the whole grains. So if our diet's a little bit low in zinc, we might have a little bit of a flare of dandruff, and we might be able to eat some more nuts and control it through the diet. The other thing that affects seborrheic dermatitis and dandruff is actually sun. So going through the winter, sometimes people's dandruff flares because we're indoors more and we don't have as much sun exposure. So that can be a factor too. Note, this dermatologist is not telling people to go out and treat everything with sun, because I don't want anyone to get skin cancer. And also, since we're talking about aging, that same sun will also create features of aging. So I just wanted to mention it as, if people notice it seasonally cycling through, that could be a factor.
Good caveat there. And let's grab two more really quickly here before we call it a day. This question comes to us from Charlotte. Good one. Can fried foods cause acne because of the grease that they contain?
Fried foods can cause acne in some people. I always say, if you feel like every time you eat a certain food, you break out the next day, I will not tell you that that's not true for you. Exactly what's causing the breakout after eating fried foods isn't 100% clear. Is it eating all that extra oil? Is it eating the extra processed carbohydrates that are usually surrounding the food you're eating? Is it eating the meat or the fish that is usually fried? Or is it that the fried foods trigger inflammatory cycles in your body, and inflammation triggers acne? Because acne is basically your follicles and your pores on your face becoming inflamed. So anything inflammatory in the diet or in the lifestyle, like stress, will trigger acne.
And last question comes to us from Lana, wants to know, how will drinking a green smoothie in the morning affect my complexion? Can you get benefit from eating your greens, or drinking your greens, I should say, in the morning?
I love this question too, because we want people to get as many fruits and vegetables into your body, high variety, on a daily and weekly basis. As Dr. Will Bolsowitz says in his Fiber Fueled book, we want to aim for at least 30 different fruits and vegetables and whole grain plant foods each week, if we can get it. So smoothies are a way to pack in a lot of variety and get a lot of that stuff in. I feel like I'm just quoting all of the greats. Dr. Michael Greger answered this question in a live talk that I attended back before we had to go through all this distancing. And he said something that I thought was really helpful and valuable. He said, whatever food you put into the smoothie is still healthy, but one of the problems with smoothies is that we tend to drink them down very quickly. So all of those calories go in us much more quickly than they would if we were trying to eat and chew all of that food. That can spike a glycemic index, which can spike our blood sugar, which in turn spikes our insulin. And high blood sugar and high insulin are both directly damaging to our cells, to our organs, and to our skin. And I didn't even get to talk about insulin resistance and what a huge role that plays in the health of our skin in so many ways. But the trick with the smoothie is to remember that you're not chewing it and to sort of trick your body into thinking it's chewing it. Drinking it more slowly. We want to keep it in your mouth a little bit, maybe sort of semi-chew it a little bit, because some of the digestive enzymes that are healthy for us start in our mouths when we're chewing. And then take sips of it over a long period of time. If you fool your body into thinking that it's eating the stuff in the smoothie, it's quite healthy. And it's not quite as healthy as actually chewing and eating the individual foods. But if we slow it down so that we get full at the same time we would have gotten full if we were eating, then it's pretty good for us.
Very, very interesting. And you're right. We did not get to insulin resistance today, but you have a standing invitation to come back on the show anytime you like, and we can definitely do a deep dive into it on that appearance. So, Dr. Krant, I want to thank you so very much for coming on today. And I encourage everybody to go ahead and follow her on Instagram at Dr. Krant, the Skin MD, or hop on over to her website, artofdermatology.com. You can make an appointment to visit her if you're in the New York area. Highly recommend it. I mean, we rattled off all of your awards earlier in the show, and clearly, you have so much knowledge. You've acquired so much knowledge about this. I think that anybody who were to step foot in your office would really just reap enormous benefits. So I cannot thank you enough for sharing a lot of your wisdom with us here on the show today.
Thank you so much, Chuck. It was so much fun. And like I said, just a very exciting day for me.
The excitement is felt equally on this end. We will talk to you again soon. And by the way, if you're watching this right now and you want the immediate video replay, of course, you can get that on YouTube and on Facebook. But then if you head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your favorite podcast from, you look for The Exam Room by the Physicians Committee. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're going to give you the full audio replay there first thing tomorrow morning as well. So go ahead and sign up for that and leave a 5-star rating if you would be so kind. And so today we talked an awful lot about skin health, but I also want to shift our focus really quickly here before we wrap things up and talk about heart health, because coming up Saturday, April 17th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, the Physicians Committee will be presenting the Heart Health Immersion. So if you're looking for ways to lower your blood pressure, take control of your cholesterol, fight heart disease, this is definitely the event for you. So you're going to get live cooking demonstrations. You're going to get one-on-one, expert opinions from experts on heart health, cardiologists, including a doctor who has really improved their own heart health by changing up their diet and lifestyle. Really, the proof is in the pudding, and now they are paying forward everything that they learned. Plus, you're going to get the opportunity, how cool is this, to do a workout with celebrity trainer Marco Borges. Now, if you're not familiar, you may be wondering, well, who in the heck is Marco Borges? Well, I will tell you who in the heck Marco Borges is. Marco Borges is the celebrity trainer for Beyonce. And so look at what he's doing for Queen Bee, and now think about what he can do for you as well. So if you would like to participate Saturday, April 17th, head on over to pcrm.org/immersion to sign up today, and you get a discount if you register along with a friend or a family member. So get healthy together. Raise your heart health IQs in tandem on Saturday, April 17th. pcrm.org/immersion is the place to go. And for today, that, my friend, is all the time that we have. I want to say thank you one more time to Dr. Krant for joining us here on the show today, and to the crew behind the scenes that makes the magic happen. Thank you, guys. And to you, my exam roomies, thank you so very much for tuning in and raising your health IQ alongside of us. And for everyone here at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. We'll talk to you Friday. I'll be joined by Plant Fit Meg. Stick around for that. She's an exam roomie regular. Can't wait for that amazing story. Such a great story. So tune in Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right back here on Facebook and on YouTube. But until then, stay safe, take a stand, and keep it plant-based.